Girl, let's talk. I have not been this excited to film in a long time. I'm Jackie Aina, and I have a lot to say.
But I know you from somewhere.
Welcome back to my channel, guys. I feel like I deserve a little bit of reintroducing, if you will. I'm Jackie Aina. I'm a beauty influencer, content creator, entrepreneur, candle lady. Yup. I'm the owner and founder of Forever Mood, and today's candle is Trickery. It's the whipped creamy butter for me. I oftentimes talk about social commentary on my channel while doing makeup. Recently, I came across a topic that really fascinates me because I'm not gonna lie, maybe unpopular takes, trigger warning. There's things in this video that you're probably not gonna agree with, and that's okay. I'm gonna have my own perspective. It's not just opinion, it's a perspective, and you can have yours. So today we're gonna be talking about why influencers get burnt out, why some of your faves don't post as frequently anymore, just the overall atmosphere of social media in general, because I don't know if y'all feel it, but I feel like there's been a lot of changes, some good, some bad. And I also wanna share this from the perspective of a visible content creator, just so that you guys can understand kind of like where some of our frame of minds are on this topic. And also, I realize this video is probably not gonna apply to the masses. The majority of people are probably not gonna be able to relate to this, and that's fine. It's a very niche, specific topic. So as I said, I started my channel in 2009. 2009 was the early rise of what we now know as the beauty guru. So the beauty guru gave you looks, the beauty guru gave you reviews, the beauty guru gave you the first round of tea, feedback, reviews on new products. It was really about sharing with people and showing people how to look their best. I feel like we're seeing the age of the beauty guru that was once a thing on YouTube really kind of doesn't exist anymore. It more so is becoming a thing on TikTok. Like, I'm seeing more beauty guru like content exist on TikTok, and I'm honestly not mad about it. I won't lie and say there is a little bit of plagiarism, but I'm actually not really mind at like the rebranding of like where beauty is trending and popular. Like, I think it's kind of cool. There's a lot of current conversations, and I don't know if y'all have seen this, but tons of conversations about why OG YouTubers in general, just like are not really uploading anymore. A lot of us have been doing this for a very, very, very long time. I think anything over like 6 years is a long time to be doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, especially if it's a creative job. And what I will say is, when you're in the creative field, once you're tapped out of doing a particular type of content for so long with very little variation in it or very little changes in it, you can get tapped out very early. There's the influencer that's just been on the platform a very long time. Maybe they're a little bored, maybe they're a little tapped out creatively. We get it, it happens. Also, what's missing from this conversation about why Black content creators don't upload as often anymore is that we're constantly competing with an algorithm that literally discriminates. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Facts are facts. You can either keep doing the same type of content that you know you're bored of. People are gonna know when you're not inspired to create the content that you are consistently creating. Once they catch on to that and they start checking out, you're usually gonna suffer. Especially for those of us like that have already had to fight tooth and nail hard enough just to even be seen through a racist, I'm gonna say it, a racist algorithm, especially when you're darker than tan, just saying. Or you can resort to posting anything and everything. Social media is just not that kind to Black creators, especially dark-skinned creators. So if you know that somebody's uploading regularly, but you're not being notified, you can't necessarily rely on the algorithm the same way that you would non-Black creators, girl, because you just gonna be, it's just gonna be, must have been the wind, child. It's just gonna be crickets. The people that make fun of Black content creators like falling off or flopping or not uploading as frequently, like, you're literally kind of laughing at racism because it's not their fault. Like, a lot of times it's really not their fault. Sometimes people just actively choose to not, you know, post regularly, like me. I'm totally guilty. You laughing at a system that don't even benefit you. Like, what is so funny about systematic erasure online? Like, what is funny about that? But anyway, let me stop. No, I'm gonna keep going. You know, something else that I find really fascinating a little hurtful and a little cruel. I think it's quite interesting that creators sometimes face backlash, not just Black creators, but creators who end up leaving the platform, moving on to something else, sometimes something better, sometimes not necessarily something better. But why is it that people feel like it's a betrayal when a content creator stops creating content? It may not be huge backlash, but I definitely sometimes see people feel like, well, you think you're too good for YouTube now. It's like, maybe they do. Like, maybe they do. I don't see nothing wrong with that. If they genuinely think YouTube is just not for them anymore, I don't see nothing wrong with that. YouTube and social media is still so new that I feel like the effects on how it has on us emotionally, professionally, personally, I really feel like they're gonna be doing studies about this stuff in like 5 to 10 years. And they already are. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of changes to social media. I'm not gonna say too much, but I feel like over time, there's definitely going to be more conversations about creating safer spaces online. Chapter 2, relatability. Okay, I had to do my eyeliner off camera and then I took a water break. Now it's game time, snitches. The next topic that I want to cover while I do my concealer is this idea of beauty influencers in general, losing their relatability. Now, I have a lot of strong opinions on this topic, so I just ask you don't take what I'm saying out of context and you hear me out. And even if you don't agree, at least acknowledge that you can understand my perspective, okay? We don't gotta agree, we just gotta respect each other's opinions, that's all I'm saying. I came across a recent TikTok, because I rarely check my TikTok mentions, but I ended up scrolling through and I saw that somebody had tagged me in a TikTok a couple weeks ago that I did not see. And it was basically someone saying Black content creators aren't really relatable anymore. And one thing I want to make clear, y'all, anybody that I mentioned in this video purely is just going to be used for context, used as examples, just so that you can understand kind of like what the meatier parts of this conversation, where they come from, right? Please don't attack this person. I don't really agree with the perspective that they share, but that's the thing, that's their perspective. I honor and I respect that. And if you're one of my viewers, please do the same. Please don't attack people for having their own perspectives and their viewpoints. But anyway, any hyper visible creator that comes into money and success, or even just fame by way of social media, you know, they're always dubbed as no longer being relatable, which to a certain extent, they're not wrong. I wanted to speak to this because as a content creator, personally, I feel like I built a platform on authenticity more than I have relatability, and I'll explain to you why. A part of adulthood is just moving in and out of different phases that people are just not gonna always relate to. I don't relate to my friends that are experiencing parenthood. It doesn't necessarily mean I don't like them. It's just like, okay, girl, like once they start talking about breastfeeding, I just be mentally tuning out because I'll be like, girl, there are gonna be things that as a Nigerian, some of my Black followers, even though they are also Black, are not gonna like relate to because they're not Nigerian. There are gonna be some things that as a Californian, some of y'all are not gonna relate to. That's why I've always made it a point to focus and use my platform to talk about things like race, cultural norms, discrimination, colorism, because that's the overarching theme on my channel that I feel a lot of us can relate to. It's not the only thing that we relate to. Now, let me be really specific with this conversation about relatability, because most of the time, like I said, they're talking about money or means or being successful. The reason why I don't necessarily think it's fair to just bank on relating to someone purely based on the fact that you have the same tax bracket, because I don't necessarily, oh my God, please don't take out of context what I'm saying. I don't necessarily think it's fair to, in some way, whether you realize it or not, penalize Black women, successful Black women, and make them feel like, well, they forgot where they came from, or they're above us now, or they're Hollywood now. You may not outright be saying it, but like subconsciously, whether you realize it or not, I feel like that's a bit of the narrative that gets pushed whenever people say things like, on the TikTok, I saw a comment, somebody was like, she's literally Kim K now. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm confused. I am not a white woman. Pump the brakes now, pump the brakes. There's a huge difference between that lady's income and mine. First of all, make no mistakes. I'm doing okay, but I'm still working. I still got work to do. I just don't necessarily think you need to be in the same tax bracket as somebody to be able to relate to somebody. Like, I can resonate with other people as Black women, as people who come from a marginalized group. We don't have to check every single box of life. That's personally just for me though. And also, if you think Black influencers in general aren't relatable, then you're kind of telling on yourself, because basically what you're saying is I'm talking about the same, usually you're talking about the same top 5 people. And what that tells me is a lot of y'all are not out there doing the work to find other people to support, because most Black influencers are not rich and they are not wealthy. And I've been saying to follow up and comers for a long periodically time. Instead of expecting one Black influencer to be the end be all, if you like somebody who knits, find a Black creator who knits. If you like ASMR, find a Black different content creators serve different purposes. Do y'all feel me? You feel me? Also, I think one thing people don't always talk about, there's somewhat of a blessing and a curse that comes with being a little too relatable. That blessing is that people see themselves in you, which I love. A lot of times there's a curse that comes with relatability in that people are very familiar with you, overly familiar with you sometimes, and too comfortable. I've come to realize that when people really related to me, they started setting expectations that I didn't ask for. They started putting me on a pedestal that I could not keep up with, and that, again, I didn't ask for. And I kind of feel like, in a way, the moment that some of that pressure was like lifted to an extent, people kind of like started to chill and like back down a little bit. I just came here to do makeup, okay, and talk about colorism sometimes, and maybe a little racial discrimination and racial hierarchy. But damn it, I'm still human. And also, as an influencer, you know, I know a lot of people like to typically say, well, you signed up for this, and this is just, it comes with the job description, and that's to a certain extent true, but nobody, I don't think any of us foresaw the climate of social media marketing turning into this. Social media marketing is still relatively so new that there's just not, it's just not really fair to say that. You know what I mean? Like, none of us knew we'd be held to the same standards in a lot of ways as celebrities and people who have had decades to get this right. It's not really fair to like be held to the same standard of people who've had years to get that right and we haven't, you know what I mean? Which brings me to another thing. Influencers are held to the same standards as celebrities, but we don't want influencers getting the same opportunities as celebrities. And I find that a bit conflicting. I think the Met Gala is the perfect example of this, because I saw, you know, comments about that, because obviously I was invited to the Met Gala. It's fine if you think one person is more deserving than the other. You know, there's not really much I can do about that. That's your opinion. But I saw a lot of conversations about influencers in general just like not deserving to be there, or cheapening the event. And I just was like, we're gonna be elitist. We're gonna do that. Basically what you're saying is the work that you've curated or created, or no amount of you earning your spot there means anything, because I just don't think you're good enough to be there for no apparent reason. The Met Gala is for not just traditional celebrities. There's brand owners there. There's execs there. I met Elon Musk. Girl, what the hell was he doing there? And I want to go back to the thing that I said about relatability, because I don't really harp on that too much, because if someone don't think I'm relatable, that's their opinion, that's fine. And I would just rather just cater and create content to the people who really just like me. And I genuinely feel like that's the majority of my audience anyway. So whenever people say stuff like that, like I'm not relatable anymore, honestly, it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. You know, it's fine. You're always going to be too much for somebody. You're always going to be too Hollywood to somebody. It is what it is. At this point, I'm just getting used to that. And there's nothing I can do about that. Proving how relatable I am to someone is just not the hill that I'm willing to die on. I really don't care. Chapter 3, Constructive Criticism. People are always saying that influencers can't take constructive criticism, but y'all be criticizing without being constructive all the time. I know I'm probably gonna open a can of worms by bringing this up. I don't even wanna bring this up, but I feel like this is like one of the best, most recent examples of this that I can relay for this video specifically. I do want to remind you guys, please do not go after or attack anybody. If you know who I'm talking about, then just keep it in the back of your mind, mental note. Don't go digging, because honestly, it doesn't really make a difference. It's not gonna change anything. And also, I really just wanna have a conversation. I don't want anybody to get harassed at the expense of me just sharing my viewpoint. If this person responds to this, please don't tag me in it. The conversation literally ends here. I really have nothing else to contribute outside of what I'm about to talk about now. There was a creator with like a decent amount of followers that had made some content about me being friends with a colorist. The first thing I thought was like, who are you talking about? The person had made like a sort of expose type of content saying that I was friends with a colorist, and what happened was I had blocked them on one platform. It felt very like, oh, I got your tea. Oh, I got your tea. You're gonna block me? How dare you? So what they did was they went to another platform and made this whole thing about how I'm friends with the colorist, and then I ended up seeing it, and ironically I saw it like days, or I think it was a couple weeks like after they had done it. So I was like, what are you talking about? What are we talking about and why? Like, what did this got to do with me? 6 or 7 responses in, I kept trying to get them to explain to me who they were talking about and what this had to do with me, because I'm like, if they're a colorist, what does this got to do with me? But for some odd reason, the person wasn't saying it. They weren't explaining to me who they were talking about, like explicitly. And even people in the comments, people were asking, how is so-and-so? I eventually figured out who they were talking about. But when people were asking them in the comments, why so-and-so was colorist, they weren't saying it. Eventually, I figured out, this isn't about the other person being colorist. You just don't like me. Damn it, that is fine. I've given people reasons to not like me. Just be honest. Just be honest.
Hey guys, it's Editing Me. The reason why I wanted to use this specific scenario as an example is because when you don't like someone on social media, you build better allies by having something in common. So what people will do, instead of just explicitly saying, I don't like this person for personal reasons or because they blocked me, instead, they'll build a narrative that more people can relate to. You see where I'm going with this? They build a narrative around something more people can relate to that's way more inflammatory and way more blanketed, so that they can then turn on that person too, because, the tea is misery loves company. And if I'm friends with somebody and they like somebody that I don't like, the easiest way is to plant them little seeds, but nobody's gonna care that Jackie Anna blocked you. People are gonna care that Jackie Anna is friends with the colorist. You see where I'm going with this? I hope I'm making sense.
Once I realized what the issue really was, they eventually were they kept saying something like, well, I'm just trying to give you constructive criticism, constructive feedback. And I'm like, the criticism belongs to the person that you're saying is colorist, not me. And to be honest with you, I really feel like the reason why they were dancing around this topic about who was colorist and why, I really genuinely, this is just my perspective, I feel like they weren't explaining this in detail because they knew if they did, people would challenge it and people would be like, I don't agree with that. I think they knew that, but instead the easier route was just to drag me into it because I have more followers. I'm generally pretty well liked on social media, and they knew once you go against who's popular, it gets people talking. And I used to be that person. I used to be that person who never liked anyone that was popular. It's the worst personality trait. It really is. I used to be like that. So I don't know, it very much gave me that. Sometimes I question whether or not people really want to be constructive or if they just want a response. As someone who experiences that a lot, it is very dauntingly tricky to navigate which one is which. Because I oftentimes find that whenever I do try to give someone the benefit of the doubt and hear them out, I feel like they're laughing at me and not having the dialogue with me. Girl, I had to take a quick break because my blood sugar was getting low. But anyway, I do question whether or not people are genuinely motivated by change on this platform versus saying things for a response, just to piss someone off, just to get attention. I really do. This conversation didn't really make that much noise because it didn't really make sense. And, I tried to talk to the creator, I tried to understand where they're coming from, but I kind of didn't. I'm just gonna be honest, I really didn't. And I also feel like sometimes people refuse to humanize me in those situations. I'm supposed to just apparently know when people are racist, colorist, everything all at the same time. Instead of someone being like, hey sis, I don't know if you know what's going on, but I saw this and it's disturbing and I see you follow them, or I see you work with them, or I see you're associated with them. I think you should know. No, that's not what people do. I'm supposed to just know, and then people react to the fact that apparently I don't know, even if the so-called accusation that they're saying about the person in proximity to me isn't true. And also, I hate to say this, but people will oftentimes blame me, the Black woman, for other people's discretion. I don't understand. Why do I get more backlash for this than the person in question? Whether people want to admit it or not, it definitely plays into this narrative that Black women are responsible for the inner workings of the world, and what everybody else does and says, we're supposed to just keep the globe turning. To be honest with you, that turns a lot of us off to talking about social issues and creating content in general, because don't nobody want to hear that shit all the time. Like, I get that type of pressure and expectation from non-Black followers, but then when I started getting it from other Black viewers and followers, not the majority, but I started being like, no, hold on, because y'all are starting to use the same racist, anti-Black rhetoric that white people are using, and I have a problem with that, and I want to confront that head on. Constructive feedback has to actually be something that I can construct. And I can't be all seeing, all knowing, all hearing. So if you suspect of wrongdoing, please just give me the benefit of the doubt of letting me know. When I'm close to someone, not always, but I prefer to confront people that I know offline, because to me, it just looks dumb if I have somebody's number to run to Twitter or Instagram to confront them. Like, I would just confront them directly. In fact, I find it quite performative to do the opposite. Another example I want to bring up, and I don't want you to go after this person, please, but I know those of you who follow me are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Last year, 2020, we saw Black Lives Matter more loud than we probably ever have, in a very positive way. There were 3 specific brands that cater to Black people, love using Black colloquialisms and phrases and slang, just basically love being in Black people's business, right? And there were 3 specific brands that were also visibly silent about Black Lives Matter last year. Now, I was not the only person who made this observation at all. So just like everybody else, I was genuinely curious. Like, y'all are always in Black people's business up until now. Why is it that when Black people are dying, it's crickets? So I called them out, and I called them out directly. Now, to be quite frank, I wasn't really expecting a response from them at all. Me highlighting the fact that they were visibly silent during these protests was more like, we already know what time it is. You've already proven to us you don't care. This is just me highlighting it. I hopped on Instagram stories and I was like, I'm not feeling the silence from these particular brands. And I talked about it, and it created a snowball effect that I wasn't really prepared for, because honestly, I just thought people were gonna just see it and like start conversations the way they always do, but it definitely prompted responses from these brands. And for some odd reason, people didn't like the fact that I called out these brands. There were some people in my community, started a lot of conversation on Twitter specifically, and it was a group of people who oftentimes are very critical of me, and that's fine. But again, I question the motives, because a lot of people were basically saying, well, you're a hypocrite because you still shop here and you still do this and you still hang out with so-and-so. People are entitled to feel that way. But I'm gonna just tell you right now, if you are a human and if you have blood pumping through your veins, everybody is a hypocrite. So the same audience of people who were saying they were giving me constructive criticism at the time about how I was a hypocrite and all of this stuff, these were the same people lusting for Skims a couple weeks ago. And to be honest with you, I'm not judging, because the Kardashians have cute stuff. Like, you can admit publicly, I'm not a fan of your image, but also I like the products that you come out with. That's fine. I don't judge that. But I can acknowledge that for some reason, people online can't hold influencers to the standards that they themselves won't even hold themselves to. I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand that. It was literally the same people, all raving about how much they love the Kardashians, how much they love Skims products. And I'm like, you just called me out for the same behavior a year ago, but okay.
So now you being funny. Now you pulling my leg.
I'm confused. Please don't go after this person. Difficult to take constructive criticism when you see the same people not following it themselves. That's something that I struggle with. Just to be clear, it doesn't bother me that Black women love and use Skims. I'm not judging. I mean, it really just reminded me that we're all human and we all make exceptions and we all pick and choose when we want to. I just want us to be honest about it. It's okay. There's another Black content creator. I don't want to say their name, but I feel like that girl can't breathe without everything being picked apart. And I haven't really talked about this with her too in depth, but I'm sure that as a visible Black content creator, that has to bother her, because to a certain extent, you want to be candid, but at what cost? At the extent of people always accusing you of getting it wrong. That's hard. There's still not that many content creators at my size that are dark skinned and are Black in the beauty space. So a lot of the stuff that I experience is kind of like first of its kind. So I have no other blueprint or anybody else's footprints to follow in to say, love how she handled that, I'm gonna do that. I'm literally the guinea pig. And with that said, I don't always get things right. There have definitely been times where I've responded to things in ways that I absolutely should not have, especially when I'm on my period. Just being honest. I just want us to be like on code a little bit better. Certain things you'll never see me talk about publicly, because if it's somebody in my community, I'm just not going out like that, period. And I don't want to give non-Black people any reason to harp onto what I'm saying and use that verbiage to their benefit. Won't be bad. I went through a huge shift in my perception of social media after 2019, when another creator was accused, two creators were accused of copying someone, and one of them used my palette, and I got dragged into it by way of that. That was the first time I genuinely felt like, okay, I was dragged into something that I didn't need to. I spoke up and I really shouldn't have, but I felt morally obligated. And you know what? Looking back, I wasn't. Like, I just wasn't. I thought I was doing the right thing by like supporting the creator, uplifting them. And some people said I didn't do the right thing. And that's fine. That's their opinion. But something in me that week really changed my perspective about influencer culture, interacting with people. I felt like in a blink of an eye, I just snapped. I just literally snapped. And I did something that honestly I would not do again, and I'm definitely not proud of. I went in on somebody who did not deserve it, and I just responded in a really terrible way while being highly emotional, because I was again on my period. That's when the regrets start coming out. I don't have the capability to regulate my emotions when I'm on my period, just being honest. I snapped. I went off on somebody on Instagram stories, and that poor girl, like, I ended up apologizing about it, but I just feel like something in me after that started like subconsciously pushing people away. I just started questioning everything, everyone, all at the same time. I started questioning, why does this person follow me? I just saw them saying the most disgusting things about me under this post or under this tweet, but then on my picture you're saying, yes queen, you look gorgeous. It's like that really made me, not at that time, but after the copying scenario that I got dragged into that did not involve me. After that happened, I started really looking at everything critically. Like I started picking apart everything back. I know that I'm not always the most bubbly and cheerful and sticky sweet influencer. I never have been, but it was just something about what took place in I think it was 2019. I just was so turned off that I started pushing people away, not responding to comments in the most friendliest tone, which sometimes I do be doing way too much. Sometimes I do be tripping, and that's fine. I could acknowledge that. It really came from me just kind of being like, it really just came from me being like super turned off from like seeing people be so nice to you in one post, and then in another post talking, and I'm not talking about constructive, just saying the most vile thing. And I see this all the time. I don't understand why people follow people they don't like. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So all of that really kind of made me be like, you know what? I don't know who really supports me anymore. I'm just gonna start like not caring anymore. And I don't like thinking that way. I don't even like behaving that way, because it makes me sad. This is the reason why I'm on YouTube. I like having a community. And at some point I was just like not feeling it, girl, at all. And you started to see it in the way that I would respond to people, and how I would bicker with people, and how I would clap back at people, or seemingly clap back. And some of it was justified before anybody tries it. A lot of times people like to write underhanded, sneaky comments, and then when I catch on, all of a sudden it's ooh, throwing stones and hiding your hands, girl. Okay, it's fine, it's cute. We see each other. Chapter 4, influencer boundaries. I want to talk about boundaries that oftentimes don't exist on social media. So I was briefly talking about this on Twitter, but basically I said something along the lines of the reason why influencers don't create boundaries with their followers is because they know that the more they make their followers feel like friends and family, the more they can monetize off of them and make money off of them. And this is the truest thing I think I probably have ever tweeted, because it's so true. I oftentimes get criticized as a creator for blocking people excessively, as they say. I take take like a very no nonsense approach. I don't argue with people anymore. Now, influencers in general, unfortunately, have not created the healthiest environment as it pertains to using features like block. Like most influencers just let their followers talk to them anyway, whatever they want. And that's fine. If that's what they want to do, that's on them. I don't necessarily agree with that approach. But the reason why they do that, in my opinion, and this is not all influencers, but in my opinion, the reason why they do that is because they know that those comments being there, especially if it's a controversial YouTube, those comments serve as a bit of a like way for people to like feel sorry for them, and otherwise, I don't feel sorry for her type of scenario, right? So let's just say, for example, you put on a lot of weight and that's the one thing everybody's commenting on, and you're like, it really bothers you, rightfully so. Like if that happened to me and that's the only thing that people talked about and people were making fun of me and saying mean, nasty things, the first thing I would do is start blocking certain keywords so that I don't even see, I don't even want to be exposed. I don't even want to see it. It's above me now. Like I don't even, nobody saw that. But sometimes influencers don't be doing that because they think negative press is better than none, which is sometimes true. But also they know that they can, in a way, use that to their advantage to humanize them and do a lot of different things. Anyway, I don't expect that people have the time to sift through every comment. Absolutely, that's not what I'm saying. I know that, you know, we get busy. We can't read every freaking comment. I get that. But wouldn't you want to filter at least a little bit? Like even just a little bit? I think influencers in general do a pretty poor job at creating boundaries with their followers, saying, no, you can't talk to me like that. No, you can't ask me that question. Block them, damn. Cause I'm telling you, the stuff that I be talking about, a lot of influencers say and they co-sign and they agree with me, they just don't say it publicly because they don't want to look bad. And for me, I'd rather create a healthy boundary with my followers because not only does it protect me, but it protects y'all too. Because we know, unfortunately, I wish it wasn't this way, but sadly it is this way, influencers also take advantage of that closeness with their followers as it pertains to abuse, as it pertains to taking advantage of them. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's happened a number of different times, the number of different creators. So when I say, no, I'm not posting about that, or I'm not comfortable sharing that, or you can't speak to me that way, it doesn't just protect me and my privacy. I feel it also protects you guys. It says, hey, there's a line here, it doesn't get crossed. Content creators love doing this thing where they'll buy a home or they'll buy a car and they'll be like, we did it, guys. We got a new car. Who is we? I'm not paying for the registration on your Lambo, sir. Who is we? That's your car. And congratulations to you. That's amazing, but that ain't got nothing to do with me. Aside from the fact that you're like, yeah, I may have clicked an ad or two, but like, it's not anything I can benefit from. Like, I don't know why people be talking like that to their followers. It's like very strange to me. That same closeness that a lot of influencers cultivate with their audience, they utilize to their advantage and sometimes utilize it to abuse people. And I don't agree with that. Chapter 5. While I use Nima's Dose of Colors lipstick, the last thing I want to address is why influencers, not just Black influencers, don't upload as frequently as they used to. A lot of people's priorities post-COVID have really, I think, shifted in a good way and in a bad way. A lot of us felt like, how do we properly serve our audience at a time where people are literally losing their lives? Like quite literally. How can I actually be helpful and be of service talking about lipstick when people aren't even going out? I don't know how to provide anything other than what I provided for over 10, 11 years. Now, later on, my followers did share with me that they wanted me to keep uploading because it felt like a form of escapism for them and da-da-da-da. So I did go back to uploading last year based on that, purely just based on that. But there was for sure a time where you couldn't really do anything. You couldn't really say anything. You was gonna get dragged. Like, there's no other way to put it, but like, there was a time where like, you was just gonna get dragged. I kind of feel like as we go back into life, you know, normal life as we remember it, people are still trying to figure out, do we address the elephant in the room? Do we go back to creating the same type of content? Do we shift considering this new life that we have to follow and adjust to? Girl, a lot of us were just like, what the hell do we post now? What the hell we gonna do now? I've never been in a pandemic before, so a lot of us are trying to figure out, how do we go back to life? Do we just go back to posting like normal? Do we shift? How do we adjust? Where do we go from here? I think a lot of us really are just human, and we don't really want to turn off our audience, and we want to be super considerate of you guys and what you guys' likes are and how our content can actually help you. As a visible and dark skin content creator, emphasis on dark skin because I feel like that matters. We are hyper aware that anything we say and do can and probably will be used against us. So navigating around that can be quite challenging. Sometimes it feels like people don't humanize us. People refuse to allow us to have an inch to make any mistakes or mishaps or slip-ups. And like I said, there have definitely been times where even if I'm being playful with someone, if I clap back, I become the aggressor. And I've seen it happen to so many other content creators. And that's why I feel like it's been so quiet. It's just been like walking on pins and needles, but like on a digital space where I'm not even around these people anyway, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know how to engage anymore. I'm not saying me personally, like I'm back to posting like normal. I think that's where some creators' frames of mind have been for a while now. Okay, so the next chapter is privacy. The bar and the expectation for what influencers are supposed to talk about and are supposed to share, that line keeps getting blurred in ways that a lot of us that have been online for a long time have not signed up for. I wasn't really prepared to talk about this, and I will just keep it brief, and this is also not the first time something like this has happened to me, but something about me personally was violated. It was done so illegally, so I won't really say too much about that, but yeah, something really personal was put on Front Street, and again, you signed up for it, right? Like I absolutely did not. And that was genuinely very frustrating because as a creator, we're constantly toying that line of like, do we let people in? Do we share certain things? Because we know it's gonna get views. We know it's gonna get, more conversation, and people are gonna love it. People are gonna eat it up. But some of us really just aren't into posting a lot about our personal and our private lives. So I struggle with enjoying being an influencer when that line gets crossed and violated anyway, even when I've clearly set a boundary. I just don't think if the person is not talking about it or sharing it themselves, you're not allowed to pry. I just don't feel that that's okay. I don't feel that way at all. And I know some people may not agree, and I know some people may not feel bad or whatever, that's fine, but if the person's sharing it, sure enough, whatever, like it's fair game. But I don't like when people come for personal things. I don't like when people say things about my relationship, my family, because what do that got to do with you? Like, I don't put that stuff out there like that. The only thing that people say about my relationship are very surface level. Like, I've talked about how we met and stuff, and other than that, it's like there's really nothing else for you to debate about. So there's no reason why if I upload a picture of me and my fiance on a random Wednesday, you should be commenting something like, make sure you get a prenup. Like, what do that got to do with the picture? What did that got to do with the picture? People keep forcing themselves into the private, intimate parts of influencers' lives where we've clearly set boundaries, and that can be hard to navigate, y'all, into just completely closing themselves off, because it's like, if you can't respect the boundary, then what can you respect? Do anybody else feel like when you don't put hairspray in your wig, the curls actually low-key kind of last longer? Or is it just like old spray just sitting there marinating? I don't know. Like, sometimes people really do be out of freaking line. It's not the first time my privacy has been violated online. It probably won't be the last. Instead of leaning into that, just try to enjoy social media for what it is. I also want to talk about the new platform that I created at Lavishly Jackie. It's a separate Instagram account that I started to just basically acknowledge the fact that I like things outside of the beauty world, and I want to share that with people. I want to share that with people who follow me, because they like me and they don't necessarily care about beauty. They just want to be like tuned in, right? So it's basically like a lifestyle platform. And also the reason why I started it was because I started coming across these luxury lifestyle content creators, and I started realizing that there's a very small niche of Black women who like, create luxury content, and it's really fun. It's sort of like escapism. It's not something that I was exposed to when I was younger, so seeing it now as a young adult is still very much inspiring for me. I don't know about y'all, but like it inspires me. I love seeing Black people from all different walks of life. I just like seeing other Black people in general. So I remember I would watch these platforms and I'd be like, wow, this lady spent 20K on a bag and she feels no way about unboxing it in this haul video. I wish I could never do that. And I want to see, like, why don't I ever see Black women doing stuff like that? Like, why not? Because I know there's Black women buying $20,000 handbags. Where they at though? So it was really Aaliyah Michelle, fellow content creator here on YouTube. She really inspired me to be more open and honest about the things that you see on the Lavishly Jackie page, because I started asking myself, no, wait a minute, why can't you just be the influencer that you want to see? If you want to see it, why not do it? I always felt like I had to hide the things that I achieved for fear of hearing the comments. You think you're better than everyone, you're Hollywood now, you're bougie now, you're this, you're that. And I genuinely feel like, I know that non-Black creators get the same thing too. I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying this is an only Black women thing, but I just feel like it hits different when Black women become successful. I do. I feel like people, like it stings more to people, and I don't know why. I feel like people are particularly more critical and more harsher when a Black woman, even if she's not flaunting her success, just for her being successful, I find that we get criticized. So I kind of wanted to create a separate platform because, people on YouTube don't always like change, honey. I didn't want people to feel like, okay, Jackie Aina, like my main account shifted too much and I'm no longer interested. So I was like, well, I have a very different life now than I did when I first started my YouTube channel. Very much a lower middle class family upbringing. Nobody in my family has money, to now the empire that I built today. And there's no reason why I should be hiding behind that. I just admire people that own it and don't pretend to be something that they're not. I feel like there's just nothing more cringy than someone who pretends to be poor, who is far from it. It's very strange to me because it's like, girl, why would poor people know what poor looks like, right? Like, why are you cosplaying as somebody who's lower middle class when you're absolutely not? We're good. We know what money looks like. It's fine. And Lavishly Jackie was a way for me to do kind of that. Just like own the newness that is the successful side of my life. And that may not even last that long, because that's the thing. Anybody can lose everything in a heartbeat. And I want to enjoy it while I have it. And I want to be the example that other Black girls may need to see, other Black people may need to see. That inspires people, whether people want to admit that or not. That, I think it inspires people, because it sure inspires me. If I don't see somebody who looks like me doing stuff like this, I probably feel like it's just never been done. And how sad is that we always have to think it's never been done when it's ourselves. I just feel like it just bridges the gap of where I started versus where I'm going, which is awesome. And I know that that's not for everyone, and that's why I split up the platforms. That's why I don't do it on my main account here. And I definitely plan on shifting some of the content that I focus on my main platform, just for clarity. Even though I'm doing this video and it feels like a goodbye, this is not, absolutely not. It's more like here's some changes that I want to make. And here's me acknowledging that as Black influencers, sometimes it's just a lot to do what we do. And it's quite challenging hand carrying a platform on your own for over 5 years, let alone double that time. That's not easy, no matter your background. Which, by the way, you should be following me on my Lavishly Jackie account. It's at Lavishly Jackie on Instagram. I post the same types of content on my TikTok, because one of my goals with my TikTok was I didn't want it to just be about beauty. I'm kind of like branching out and doing more stuff. I miss some of the closeness that I've created with my community that I think has been missing for a minute now. And this is where you guys come in. I wanted to ask you guys, because, and I mentioned this before, but thoughts on things like Discord or another platform. I don't know, maybe this would be like a page. I don't know if this is a Patreon, because I know with Patreon you have to create content. So I don't know how that would work. I miss the sense of community and tight-knitness that I used to have with you guys. And I want to join a platform that I can dedicate just to that, where we can just talk about stuff and just like not on a public space all the time. Because I feel like, again, going back to what I said earlier, sometimes it's gotten better, but like sometimes, you know, you're constantly under this microscope where you can't say nothing without it being sensationalized or like thrown back in your face. And sometimes I just really want to vibe with people who are just like really just here for me and don't really care about the extra hoopla and all that other crap and the weird secret haters that just hate follow. I want a platform that is just for y'all. And I know we can't weed out everybody, but you know, so I've been thinking a lot about like Discord and platforms like that. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to start something like that. I think it'd be really fun, really nice. I'm not saying you gotta be the person who literally kisses my butt and agree with everything that I say and think and do. But I want it to for sure be for people who are not gonna like be two-faced and weird. All in all, look, Black creators ain't going nowhere. There's always gonna be somebody new. There's always gonna be somebody popping, you know, and I mean that in a good way. And there's room for everybody. There really is. Y'all can catch me in the meantime. Y'all know where to find me. I 100% am going to be shifting the types of beauty content that I have on my channel. It's just gonna probably take me some time. And in the meantime, I will still be blocking people. I'm gonna keep giving y'all lavishly fabulousness on the Lavishly Jackie account. So if you haven't already followed me on TikTok, girl, what you waiting for? And the last thing I want to say is, I know I'm not for everybody. I never really wanted to be anyway. But if you're gonna dislike me, make sure it's not for a made-up reason. I've given people plenty of reasons to not like me. But you ain't gotta lie, Craig. I just ask, again, you don't attack anybody. Don't go fishing for somebody. Don't go calling out anybody, please. Because I don't really want to foster the same type of environment that I'm literally telling y'all makes a lot of content creators frustrated. So don't be that person, please. Sometimes I would love to see other people take some personal responsibility for it, because the internet really can be a nasty place. And one thing the internet will do is drive you insane and then call you crazy for justifiably reacting. It's not always fair, it's not always nice. Check out Kai Collective, because you know I love me my Gaia robe, and also that purple headband I had on earlier is for my esthetician. Guidance to Glow, support your local small businesses. Kai Collective is Black owned, and Guidance to Glow is Armenian owned, so check them out. I really hope you guys enjoyed this candid talk. I have a lot planned on social media in general. I'm very excited about what those things are. I wasn't for a long time. I'm actively excited about what I have in store for social media in general for the time being. And I hope you guys are too. So support your local Black creator, go on their videos, actively seek their content, like, comment, repost when and where you can, because the algorithms are not gonna do the work for you. We have to do a little bit of extra elbow rubbing, unfortunately, sometimes. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna point to a video that ain't gonna be there. That's the only thing I can do at this point, because every time I tell y'all, watch another video here, it don't be there, because I'll be forgetting. Maybe this time I won't. Don't know. Who knows? Let's just see if y'all can get lucky this time.